So this video, I wanted to make basically just talking about my cosplay history, why I started cosplaying, why I do this. Before I actually started cosplaying, I pretty much looked at it as a thing that I really wanted to do, but could not do it for whatever reasons, mostly financial, since I was still just a kid in high school with no job. One of the first cosplay things that I had ever gotten was a Sailor Fuku from the Japanese Cultural Club. It's some website. It was actually real Sailor Fukus like that schools used. It wasn't like a cosplay one. It was ones that I buy now just because they're so cheap. When I got it, it was actually a lot different from what I'd assumed it was going to be, because I see a lot of the cosplay ones. The top, for example, was actually really thick and it was short. And the skirt was really long, and at the time most of these Sailor Fukus that I'd seen in anime had short skirts. So this was one of the ones that goes down to your knees. I didn't actually use that one out anywhere, and I had eventually given it to Chi, which I don't think she ended up wearing it out anywhere either, but I don't even know if she still has it. It was a very long time ago. So then it was eventually announced that KawaiiCon would be happening. It would be Hawaii's very first anime convention, and I was incredibly thrilled by this. I was so excited. This would be the first time going to an anime convention. This would be the first time cosplaying, and immediately I had to cosplay. I knew I had to cosplay, and I wanted to do a different cosplay for each of the 3 days that KawaiiCon would be going on. So I'm completely new to this whole cosplay thing. I don't know where to go. I don't know who's okay to go to. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. I just assumed that people put out commissions and everybody was legit, everybody did good work, and everybody just was honest about all this stuff. So I first stumbled across Lime Barb, and this girl was amazing, and the costumes they did were so great, and I wanted to get one from them so bad, but they're a little more on the expensive side, so I continued to look around a little bit for other cheaper commissioners. So my very first cosplay was Kagura from Azumanga Daioh in the Daddy Cafe outfit. And I can't even remember the name of the group that did it for me anymore. But it turned out really nice. And I bought the daddy hat from Genki Gang, which unfortunately is not around anymore, but it was an amazing hat, and I eventually ended up selling this cosplay to buy another one, so I don't have any of this anymore, but I really wish I had kept that hat. So there was that, and the next day, I can't even remember my cosplays from back then. So I also did Battle Royale, and I got this one commissioned from a group that sold Battle Royale costumes, and the costume was actually really nice. I felt the jacket was a little large for me, but it still fit and I could still use it. And then the last one, I bought a Sailor Fuku from Cosmates. It was a dark navy winter Sailor Fuku, and that was my 3 cosplays for KawaiiCon. And since this was my first time doing any kind of cosplay or anything, cosplay to me back then was just throwing on a costume and walking around and letting people take pictures of me. It wasn't about being the character, it wasn't about pretty much anything other than just wearing the costume. So from that string of cosplays from the very first KawaiiCon, I was introduced to Cosmates, like I said, and I absolutely love Cosmates. I still love Cosmates. Cheap costumes are not bad costumes either, so if you're not looking for anything incredible right away, but something cheap that still looks good, Cosmates is always a great idea. So with the very first KawaiiCon, I actually met a bunch of people, and they were just great anime fans, great cosplayers, and that's something about cosplaying that I really enjoy too, just meeting new people who enjoy to do this just like you do. So eventually from there, I always wanted to do new costumes every year, and that was pretty much the extent of my cosplaying at the time. Just when Kawaii-Con came around, I would have a costume and I would do it for then. So I haven't had a lot of bad experiences with buying cosplays and commissioning people. Ever since that first year of going through the experience of getting those costumes, I would definitely be reading people's feedback, searching whether or not people had experiences with them. Except this one site where I went through their gallery and everything seemed really good. It seemed like they could do something that I wanted them to do, and it was a completely horrible experience for me. Everything that you think could go wrong with commissioning a costume went wrong with this group, and it's such a horrible experience for me that I don't even really want to talk about it at this point. In fact, I think only Chi knows what had happened and what group that was with. And I don't know if they're still around after my situation with them was over with. I just never bothered to check back on them. In fact, from that bad experience, I didn't even try to dispute anything. Just when I had finally gotten the costume, I was so shocked and disappointed that I wanted to leave it all behind. And that doesn't happen anymore, because if I do have anything that I don't like about a costume when I finally receive it, I will talk to the people about it and I'll try to work something out with them. But that was my bad experience, and that was the only time that I'd ever really had something like that happen. So after that, I started looking on sellers on eBay. This was the cheapest and easiest way for me to get costumes, a more variety of costumes. One of my first places on eBay that I bought from was Honest Dragon, which I think they're still around. I actually don't remember. I haven't bought anything from them for a very long time. I have had some minor bad experiences with some of the sellers on there, so I know which ones are okay to buy from. I always read feedbacks now. I always search cosplay.com to see if anybody says anything about them. But I always dispute things with people now. I've learned my lesson, so I get something worked out with people on eBay. But that is still my main source for ordering costumes. So throughout all my experiences, I eventually started trying to do a few things for myself. Like recently I've started to try to do wigs, and this isn't turning out very well for me, but I'm learning still. I've ruined a lot of wigs. I think when I was trying to do the Nurse Joy wig, I spent maybe $200 between myself and Chi's wigs, ruining most of them and then ending up with what we had at the 2012 Kawaii-Con. Then the wigs that I had made for them didn't store very well, so both of our wigs are messed up right now, and I got pissed off at mine enough to just throw them out. With the wigs recently, this past year, I have been trying to make a few of my own accessories. I'm still really new and really bad at all of this. I just completely suck at making things. I think my hands are too unstable for all of this. It's pretty much where I am right now. Still not being able to make my own costumes, just starting to make accessories, starting to try to do wigs. I'm still learning a whole bunch of new things with all of this stuff. Pretty much the whole reason that I want to do cosplay is just I love dressing up. I love trying to be these characters. I love the characters, of course. I wouldn't be cosplaying as them if I didn't. The cosplay that I love doing the most, when I first got it, I really loved my Inazuma 11 Go Raimon soccer uniform. I can't tell you what it felt like being in it. When I first put it on, I said aloud to myself, since I was the only one at the time, I feel like I'm a part of the team, yay! And that's how I felt. I was so happy and excited to be in that costume. But my favorite costume to date that I love doing, I love being in it, I love trying to be the character, is Maiden from Kuroshi Tsuji. This next Kawaii-Con is going to be the first time that I'm using her cosplay. I'm going to try to stay in character, and that's probably going to fail on my part really hard. But it'll be my first time doing anything like that. I just love being in her costume so much. Her costume was one of the first accessories that I had tried to make myself. It was her headband and her glasses, and I did pretty okay for them for my first try doing anything like that. There aren't any cosplays that I hated doing. I, again, wouldn't do any of these costumes if I didn't like them. There isn't even one that I like doing the least. I love doing all of them. My ultimate goal for cosplaying, of course, would be to be able to make my own costumes. Unfortunately, don't see that happening anytime soon, but that's my goal. I hope to at least get better at trying to make my own accessories and things like that. So my message to people who are just getting into cosplay or don't think that they can do it is to basically just do it. Just go for it. Don't get discouraged by anything. Don't get discouraged because you think you can't do it, or that you don't think you're going to be good as that character, or you see other people's cosplays and you think, wow, I'm never going to be like that. Just do it and you'll be surprised at what you can do. You'll be surprised at how it turns out, and you'll feel great in your costume afterward. You definitely will. I can tell you this firsthand. I'm not going to be as good as any of the cosplays that I admire, and I know that, but I still very much enjoy the cosplays that I do, and I'm going to keep doing it because of that. You'll just have so much fun. So that's my message. So, すまいでした。さ